welcome to Pick Money, episode 42. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you for participating. Appreciate you for looking for the information, and appreciate your desire to actually get better at whatever the hell you're doing. Right? Well, that's the goal. If people talk about the podcast, like, what is your goal? My goal is to take whatever part I can give you on a weekly basis and give you information that I think is going to help you in your journey. Actually, I don't think I know it is, because I've been on the journey and I know what works and what doesn't work. So today we're going to talk a lot about how people, when people become business owners or independent contractors or entrepreneurs, you find a lot of them as they're growing and they've never managed anybody and they've never managed themselves. And they take one of two paths, usually. They're either overly critical of themselves, and they're sometimes overcritical of themselves in front of other people, even though they really don't mean it. And stay with me. What I mean by that is they'll be really hard on themselves. You know, the week was bad, the month was bad. I know I'm not doing good. How are your numbers, Tom? Man, they suck. They're really down on themselves, and that becomes like they're like a martyr. Like, it's like a victim kind of deal. And I'm just saying, like, I watch them, right? And it's like, I'm not, like, be honest about your numbers. Month sucked. You know, I made 1 sale, 12 sales, 0 sales. But I think what happens with that a lot of times is that is like a big smoke screen. Then you won't ask them about their activity. Because if they come across and go, I know I'm doing terrible, I'll say, how you doing? I know I'm doing terrible. It's like, bro, I didn't say you're doing terrible. I don't even know how you're doing. I'm asking. I don't even have your numbers in front of me. And even if I did, I didn't say you're doing terrible. I'm asking you how you're doing. And it's like they're already ready because they want to preempt anybody giving them feedback. People that care about you in business will give you feedback about your numbers. Now, if they're giving you feedback about something that's obscure as hell, it doesn't matter. Like, I hate those shoes, or I hate this, or why do you? It's like, dude, that's just that. Like, that's your. But if they're talking about your business, and they're looking at your numbers, and they're providing feedback for you, then like this whole game changes, right? So you've got to understand that concept. So a lot of times they do that, or they're really lackadaisical about the results at all. It's like they're just kind of walking through it. The majority of people do one of those two things: beat themselves down, and a lot of times it's so you won't confront the numbers or discuss the numbers. They don't want to have a discussion with anybody about it. Or they're like, just kind of, I'm not really looking at my numbers. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not angry. I'm not lashing out. If you ask me how my month is, I'm like, I'm working on it. Could be better. I might give you a couple like, hey, dude, it was like, this month was hard because I had, a birthday party, and then I had like stub my toe, and I'm being a little bit facetious and sarcastic. I get it and trying to be funny, but the reality is that's what happens. That's kind of what they do. And that's what the majority of the people I see do. The ones that become successful faster are very honest with honest with themselves about their numbers, but they're also desiring your feedback. Like, they want your feedback. They want you to provide them constructive feedback. And when I say they want you, they want people doing better than them. Because I think the perfect way to approach it is work as hard as you can, be as honest with yourself about your results as you possibly can and what you need to get better at, what you're doing good, what you're doing bad. Find the people doing better than you and desire their knowledge and their information and their opinion, and don't discuss your business with people that are not doing well. And I mean it all. Don't placate them. If they're like, hey, I was watching you on the phone, you're like, bro, you've been here a year and a half. You don't sell any more than I do, and I'm not having a good result yet. So if you don't mind, with all due respect, keep your opinions to yourself. You can do that and be uberly nice to people. You're not being brutally bad when you say that to people, right? So it's getting you to understand that dynamic. So I think when you get the people that are having that discussion with you, you need to latch on to it. Now, how do you create that? First of all, if you're one of the first two, you want to stop. And I'm not sure like just stop. If you're somebody that, like beats yourself down before anybody asks, so everybody leaves you alone, stop doing that. Like, just stop. You don't want to do that. That's not going to be effective. And if you're somebody that's like, I don't really even pay attention to my numbers and I'm pretty lackadaisical about it, stop doing that. That's not going to work either. So neither one of those ways is going to work. I think also when you start doing what you're doing and you start having conversations with people and you start reaching out because you want to learn, people are going to help you when they know that they feel valuable too, by the way. If I'm pretty good at whatever, selling, we're selling these drinks and I'm good at it, and you're asking me for feedback, I feel valued. Now, I only feel valued if I think you're going to take my feedback and you're going to put it to use. If I think that no matter what I say to you, you're like asking me just to ask me because you want to say you asked, then I'm not going to put near as much energy into it. I typically will say, hey, bro, why are you asking me? You typically don't ask anybody for advice. When we give it to you, you typically don't take it. Like, I'm very honest and direct like that. But you have to understand, and before we go down to any of these opinions and attitudes and the way you fall in and the way you react, you should, every day you're an entrepreneur, every day, every one of you should wake up and be proud of yourselves for the journey you're embarking on. Every one of you. Because the vast majority of people will never experience it. I was in this event one day, and it was great. They walked in, this development deal, and a bunch of guys, group of guys, and they had boxing gloves and headgear. And they're like, you're going to fight each other for, 3-minute rounds. I'm like, sweet. I enjoyed this. Cool. Let's go. Even if the guy's really, really good, I get hit. I'm good. Let's go. No matter how talented he is at boxing or whatever he does. It's not MMA. You can't wrap him up with legs and jump up in the sky and grapple. So I'm feel pretty good with my hands as opposed to, jiu-jitsu, because I'm not training that in any capacity. But the guy at the end of the deal, when we were all done fighting and, matched people up, and he said, gentlemen, 1%. And I'm looking around. I'm like, what do you mean 1%? He's like, 1%. 1% of the people in the world have done what you just did. It's not about how good your hands are or how mean you are, athletic. 1% of the people in the world have put headgear on, mouthpiece in, boxing gloves, got into a ring, and went at it legitimately for a period of time. Now, I didn't doubt the guy with a 1% because I would venture to guess that 99% of the people I know have never done that, or in general, never done that. And I'm not saying that you should go around doing that all the time. But it was really interesting the way he embraced that. So a lot of times entrepreneurs or independent contractors or businessmen and businesswomen, they're so worried about, dude, you're part of a very small percentage of people. No matter how bad your day was yesterday, and if you got your proverbial ass kicked in business yesterday, you're part of a very small percentage of people who's in business for themselves. Good for you. And when I say business for yourselves, supporting your family through your business. Everybody says they're a business owner, a businessman, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I always say to people is my next question when they tell me that they're in business for themselves is, are you supporting you and your family through this business? Does this business pay your bills? Or does this business weigh you down? Are you living your paycheck or somebody else giving you money to pay your bills because the business don't make any money? Which part is it? If you're running your business, but you had a guy the other day, and I'm like, but dude, you have your mom's paying all your bills. There's nothing wrong with that, but she's paying every bill you got. Your business isn't, it's not successful. Do you have how long is this going to go on for? That could be it. Your bills could be when I started my first businesses, my bills every month were probably a couple $1,000s a month cumulatively. And I just I must have lost my train of thought, but got so focused on that message, right? All of a sudden, everything changes when that's the baseline. What you just did, 99% of people will never try. So as you're picking money and you're trying to put your family in a better position, 99% of people will never do that. They'll never do it. They'll never, ever, ever do that. And that doesn't make them bad people, and it doesn't make you a good person. They're just different. That they want a different result than you do. So pat yourself on the back for wanting a different result. Good for you. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make you any better than anybody else. Understand that this is a journey that very few people go on full time. Again, we get back to, is your business making you money? It's funny because people be like, well, this person has an opinion on my business. I'm like, well, if your mother or father is paying your bills and they don't like your business, they have the right to not like your business. They're paying your bills. If your uncle's paying your bills, if your significant other's paying your bills, and they don't like the business, like, they do have the right to have those opinions. And people badmouth people all the time, like, but dude, they're paying for you to do this. Like, that's their money going towards what y'all are doing and what you're doing in your business. So, but understanding that you decided to try something that most people will never try, okay? And act accordingly. There is something to be said when people say, when it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And everybody's like, you'll hear a lot of people go, that's not true. When people say that, they're haters. They're this, they're that, and they're negative. They have small thinking. No, I'll be honest with you. This might mess you up. I agree with them. If you tell me, Shawn, you're going to open your business, you're actually not going to have to work all that hard. And actually, most people do really well at it. Like, almost everybody succeeds crazy. Like, you're totally good. And like, it's really not even that hard to work. And you don't need any money to do it. And start tomorrow and you'll probably be, really wealthy in 90 days. Dude, that does sound too good to be true. And by the way, as an entrepreneur for 30 years, that is not true. So when people immediately get into these old school methodologies they've learned of how they're brought up and raised in business and what they're supposed to react to. But the first time I heard that, I'm like, dude, I think you guys sometimes make it out to be like everybody's just successful. That's not true. And again, when you're building a business, you're going to attract people. You got to figure out, who are you attracting, right? Whenever you start talking about what you're picking, clientele, employees, agents, whatever it is, who do I want to attract? Who? And if I'm building a business, I don't want to attract a bunch of people that are like, wait a minute, did Shawn just say easy, no issues, everybody does it, everybody's successful, financially free in 90 days, a year? I'm in. Well, I'd prefer to go, hey guys, here's the deal. What we do is hard. It's not hard like intellectually, like you can't grasp it. It's hard work. Also, there's some risk involved financially. You're going to have to invest in yourself. There's going to be a lot of failure. You're going to hear no a lot. You're going to have a lot of people pulling against you. And if you don't grow as a businessman throughout the process and you don't get better, not only every month, every week, every day, sometimes multiple times a day, you're going to be unsuccessful at this. Once you grasp that, then I ask, are you interested? Now think about the guy that I'm going to be attracting into the business. I already told him it's hard work. If he don't like to work hard, he's not going to be interested. I already told him he's got to believe in himself and invest in himself. If he don't want to believe in himself and invest in himself, he's already not interested. If I tell him that most people are not going to pull for him, and he's thinking, damn, I need everybody to pull for me. Like, I'm not going to be, like, what if they don't all pull for me? What am I going to do? I told him there's a lot of failure. Like, a lot of failure. Like, you're going to have failure. Like, if I go through all those things and then the guy's like, yeah, dude, sounds good, I'm in. Like, whose car are we going to take? Like, sign me up, I'm in. Now I have a better chance to scale and build my business because of who I'm attracting into my business. And the issue with a lot of folks is they work so hard to say, hey, listen, got the greatest business you've ever seen in your life. Everybody does well. So I can say anybody can do it. I didn't say everybody does well. I said it's hard work, really hard work, but it's not, you don't need a certain intellectual capacity. You don't need to be so ridiculously intelligent, but you have to work hard. But when you tell me everybody can do it, which, by the way, I'm just saying it differently. Everybody's having success. That's not true. So you shouldn't say that. And there's no business that everybody's having success. It's not near as hard work as I thought it would be. Wow. I mean, now the hardworking guy is like, I don't know, dude. This sounds like, it sounds weird. And it sounds a little too good to be true, because anything worth really having, that statement and adage stands true, is a lot of motherfucking work. Because if not, everybody would do it. Like, everybody would try it if it wasn't so much work. Like, everyone would be successful. And the last thing I need you to remember before we move on to another topic about the way you're positioning what you're doing is you have to be so unbelievably transparent, honest about the results you're having or not having. You know, your mess is the message. A guy said to me a lot lately at an event I was at, your mess is your message. So the mess you've made in your business, days, weeks, months, whatever's happened, bad months, didn't make money this month, invested money in this marketing deal, didn't work, tried this schedule, it didn't work, tried this closing, it didn't work, tried this, whatever it was, your mess is your message. So are you sharing with people what's not going well so they can go ahead and learn from your mistakes? Because the transparency is where people become locked in. I'm interested when you're talking. The more honest you are, the more interested I am. But the minute you start talking to me about your own trials, tribulations, and failures and the mess you've made, now I'm in. Because it's transparency. Your transparency creates trust with me. Your trust creates an environment where I believe in the fact that you're going to work hard to lead me in the right direction, and you're not full of yourself or so egotistical that you can't share your own mess with me. Let that sink, and I hope that resonates. And the last thing I want to talk to you about today is understanding how to carry yourself, present yourself, and discuss what you're doing with people that are not in your business. Not people you're recruiting, not people you're hiring, not people you're trying to sell something to. People in your life, friends, family, coworkers, past coworkers, whatever it is, how do you have that discussion? So here's how you start that discussion. And these will be some of the hardest relationships for you to manage. Because these people are not doing what you're doing. They don't know what you know. They're not walking in your shoes, and you also shouldn't expect them to. The problem with a lot of people is they're so worried about what everybody else thinks. If you're worried about what everybody else thinks, then you have to understand that if you're waiting for their validation and it's important to you, you're not going to get it. So if you made that part of your journey and it's void, then you're already setting yourself up to fail. I was not trying to make people that were not in business, and I was not trying to make their validation or lack thereof an impact on what I was doing. I didn't think that made any sense for me. So I understood that it wasn't their journey. It wasn't their walk. I wasn't using their money. I wasn't using my mom's money, my friend's money. I wasn't using my uncle's money. Like I wasn't using, but also they had never walked in my shoes. So I tended not to talk to them a lot about what I was doing. It wasn't like I was running away from it. It was just like if they were like, hey, how's it going? I would decide from the tonality of their question if they wanted the information, they were just trying to mess with me. You know, if it was somebody that I knew like, hey, man, this dude's kind of interested and he genuinely asked me, I'd be like, bro, here's how it's going. I got no problem discussing it. But if I knew with your tonality, like, hey, how's that thing going? Like that thing you're doing, how's it going? You making any money or what? I can be sarcastic. So I'm kind of like, hey, bro, number one, I am making money. Number two, with the way you asked me that question like a freaking wise ass, you didn't want the information. You were hoping it wasn't going good. Let's you and I have an agreement. We don't talk to each other about my business because you're hoping my business fails and it's not going to fail. So you're going to be upset because it's not going to fail. I'm going to be upset because you're hoping it fails, which I think is pretty jacked up. So why don't we just let's just be friends and not discuss it. I'm not hiding from it, but you want it to fail. I'm not going to let it fail, and I'm not going to defend myself or justify myself to you. That's how I do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way. You also can just say, hey, man, it's going good. So anyway, just see the game last night. It's going good. Damn, it's hot out. It's going good. How's your mom doing? It's going good. Is your brother still doing that thing? Like, you can just get off the topic. But a lot of people are so busy trying to get, seek, force approval and validation from people who couldn't begin to validate you anyway. And I guess that's a question I get from entrepreneurs when, that's, for me, it's confusing. But then again, I have to understand that most people are that way. I was never seeking anybody's validation ever, ever. So, for me, I'm looking at you when you're asking about other people approving what you're doing. Like, dude, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Who cares? Like, why does that matter? Why does their approval matter in any capacity? Like, I just don't understand it. And, I think for folks that are stuck on that, it's hard to ever go to the next level. And when I say how to talk about it, sometimes you don't need to talk about it. And it's not because you don't believe in what you do, but when you start trying to throw up on somebody about something they know nothing about, don't want to know anything about, don't have any interest in, and really aren't pulling for you, why would you do that? You know, we're doing a podcast the other day that I do, Fully Loaded with Chris Carter, and Caleb, the kid from the Bears, was bitching about, like, when I went to Green Bay, you know, I was trying to make the Lambeau leap, and like, you know, man, they were pushing me off and throwing stuff at me. And I said to Chris, you played at Lambeau a bunch. Like, did you ever make the Lambeau leap? You played with Minnesota. He's like, I made the Lambeau leap plenty of times. And he basically starts telling the story. He's like, yeah, but in Minnesota, meaning I didn't try to jump into enemy territory and think they were going to grab me and pull me up. He said, that's just stupid. Like, for Caleb to say that, he said that as an NFL Hall, like, that was stupid. Like, why would Caleb say that? Like, what did he think was going to happen? So, but a lot of you try that. You have these people who, with all due respect, even though they say they're your friend, they're really not hoping it goes well for you. And again, the psychology behind that is very simple. If it goes good for them, they're threatened by it. Like my buddy said the other day, man, I can't believe that people can go on Ozempic and lose all this weight. I'm like, why does that bother you? He's like, well, they don't have to work out, they have to eat good. I'm like, I don't, how does that affect you though? Like, I've never used it, but like, how does it affect me if Tom loses 120 pounds on Ozempic? Why would I not want Tom to lose 120 pounds? Why would I care how Tom lost 120 pounds? Why would I not want Tom to look better for him and his family and be in better health? I don't pretend to know the side effects or lack thereof of Ozempic. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a biologist. I don't know anything about it. But why would I be mad at him? So you think I'm mad when I work out every day? I'm not mad. I want to work out every day. I'm not mad when I figure out what to put in my body food-wise and whatnot. I'm not mad about that. But it's people are amazing. They're like so mad that look what they did and look how hard I had to work. I don't care if I find a guy that's like, dude, I created this yesterday. It's the best thing. You know, I was able to, you take the microphone, I developed this, the technology and the sound projects 100 times better than anybody else has ever done in the history of the world. Here's what I created, patented. Man, it's unbelievable. I actually licensed it out, sold it for $2.4 billion. And dude, it took me a week to figure it out. I'm not like, mother, father, what about me? I've been working 30 years. I'm like, good for you, bro. Like, I ain't mad at you. But you have to understand, you're trying to make that, if you're not a football person, a Lambeau, like when you go to Lambeau Field, Packers, when them dudes on the Packers score a touchdown, they jump up into the stands. The Packers fans grab them, pat them on the back, jump a hold, take pictures, love them. That's what they've been doing forever. Why would you, if you're with the Bears, and hell, Caleb, you don't score much anyway. Don't get too excited, bro. When you jump in the stands, you want the opposing fans to reach down and grab you and hold you? Like, you delusional. A lot of us are doing it because we think the people are our friends and they're not really pulling for us. They don't hate us, but like, I don't think the Lambeau fans hate him, but they're like, dude, I'm not going to, like, this is our place. Get down. We don't, like, don't mess with us. We grab the Packer players when they come up. But when you're getting frustrated, whose fault is that? You know how empowering it is when you're like, okay, this is my journey. God is great. God's in charge of everything. As a human, this is my journey. I'm totally and utterly responsible for everything I do and don't do. If I have success, it's because I worked hard and grew every day. If I fail, it's because I didn't work hard and grow every day. If there's things I need to change about my business and I'm not proactive as opposed to be reactive, then I'm going to struggle. But why would I ever have a discussion with somebody that can't benefit me and my business in any capacity? That's the thing I just don't understand. So you really have to identify these relationships you have with people and figure out what you're getting out of them. And I think you really have to understand that as you're moving forward. What am I getting from discussing this with this person? If you would do more of that, when somebody asks you a question, it's okay to go, all right, all right, you know, why is he asking me this? Is having a discussion about this going to benefit me and my business at all? Does he really want the information, or he's just hoping I fail or trying to bust my ass? But we don't ask ourselves that. We just throw up on people. That's what we do. So for me, I kind of put myself in a position where people knew if you're going to talk to Shawn about what he's doing, you don't need to tell him it's perfect, it's the greatest thing in the history of the world. You don't need to do any of that. But don't try to bust his ass. because he's going to respond in kind and you're not going to like it. But if you want some information, he's the guy, so he's going to shoot you straight about what's working and what's not working, and if it works for you or if he thinks it'll work for you or not, and what you have to do, and if you don't do certain things, how you're going to fail. He's going to shoot you straight on all those things. But you really have to understand, like, if you don't put yourself in that position, every 10-minute conversation adds up. What if you have 6 10-minute conversations in a day, let alone a week, that are a complete waste of your time? Even if they don't harm you, they're a waste of your time. That's an hour. What if those conversations mess you up? You're like, man, you know, my uncle says, like, I probably shouldn't, you know, have a second job. My uncle says I shouldn't try to get promoted. My uncle says I shouldn't try open a business. And now you're paralyzed because your uncle. Every time you talk to somebody, take advice, get asked a question, you need to be able to tell yourself what their resume is. I say to people all the time, what's your resume again? What do you mean? I go, as it pertains to being a businessman, what is your resume? Hold on a minute. Got me a pen, some paper. Fire away, dude. What's your resume? What gives you the ability, the experience, the education, the insight to give me advice on this? Fire away. And just shut up and wait. Like, that's all you've got to do. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. You do that. You ask yourself, why, man, you know what? This person said, a guy the other day, and he's like, well, here's all the reasons why I'm making these changes in my business. I was like, cool, who'd you talk to about that? I'm good with everything. I mean, good for you, good luck. I just want to know, like, where did those come from? And it's some guy that has been in business like 4 days, never done nothing. He said, but he's really smart. I'm like, no, he convinced you he's smarter than you, which makes you much dumber than him because he doesn't know more than you do. And by the way, does intellectual capacity, I don't know if this guy's smarter than him or not, does intellectual capacity matter more than experience, knowledge, insight, intuitiveness? Like, I can go on and on and on. Which one matters more? That's an old adage that, you know, A students work for C students. You know, whether that's true or not, I don't get all that worked up about everybody being like, well, you went here and you didn't have good grades and you went to a shitty college and that's why you kick ass. I'm like, I don't know that's why I kick ass. I just happen to be a guy that wasn't very focused on his academics. I did not think that they were going to help me long term. I didn't go to a great school. I didn't have any money. So, like, all those are also reasons why I didn't go to great school. If my mom had done really well and had all the money in the world, I probably would have gotten better grades. I'll be honest with you. And I probably have been like, if I can go to the University of Alabama, now, I went to play baseball where I went to play baseball at. But if I got done after a couple of years and was like, hey, dude, I'm not going to play ball anymore. Like, I'm not going to play professionally and get paid a bunch of money. I can go to, you know, Stanford. I can go to Georgia. I can go to Penn State or ECSU and finish my degree. I'm proud of chosen to go to a big school with a lot of cool shit happening to be part of that student body. I probably would have done that. And I would have understood I'm going to make more connections with people that will benefit me in the future, except I don't have any money. So, like, which one came first? I don't think I had a disdain for academics. I think I had a realization. I was an ROI guy when I was real young. What is my return on investment? I can work a job while I'm in school, not study as much, get C's, nobody's going to bother me, and I'm going to go to college anyway. But if I had the opportunity, then I may have changed. So those are things you need to explain. And when you're sharing things with people, give them those analogies, give them those stories, give them, because that's what makes you more connected to people. When in doubt, start talking about a story in life that's also, it's not just educational, it's entertaining. And if you got kids, start talking about life experience you have with your kids. Everybody pays attention. With your pets, people pay attention. Kids and pets, they just do. Man, I was dialing, and my dog was barking, and you're not going to believe this. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I'm not, what do you mean the dog was barking? Yeah, dude, and then somebody's at the door, and then the dog did this, and the dog did that, and the dog, one of my favorite stories, people remind me this all the time, because it had an animal in it. I told my buddy Trey, he was afraid to go to people's houses. Just afraid. And I was like, dude, when people smell fear, that's when they react. When they smell fear, that's when they ask questions. When they smell fear, that's when they have objections. When they smell fear, they think they don't trust you. Like, I go on and on, all these reasons why you shouldn't be fearful, okay? Then he's like, man, I'm going to this house and his dog's barking a lot. I'm like, dogs only bite people that are afraid of them. And I'm telling this whole story. I'm giving a bunch of details and, telling it much better. I have a lot more time than I do right now to tell it. And I end up getting a call from Andrew, who works with Trey, who's like, hey, dude, you're not going to believe this. Trey got bit like in the stomach. Dog bit him. He went to the house. The dog was barking. He opened the gate anyway. He said he remembered that you said if you're not afraid, it won't bite you, and dog bit him. And when he got done, he goes, man, I guess that wasn't true. I go, wait a minute. Just because he went doesn't mean he wasn't afraid. I'm like, Trey, were you afraid of the dog? He was like, yeah, man, I was actually pretty afraid of it anyway. When I said, okay, well, I didn't say open the gate and confront the dog, even when you're afraid. If your heart's pounding, you're nervous as hell, that dog will sense it. That fool will bark at you, and he might bite you, and he did bite him. He's okay, thank God. It wasn't that bad of a bite. But the minute I start telling that, you remember it, you're engaged. It's less threatening about you. So you got to understand how to communicate with people, both in your business and out. But as we're talking today, what kind of discussions are you having with people that are not in your business? What kind of discussions you're having when people don't know anything about your business? And what kind of discussions you're having with people that have no business knowing your business? Because they're not in business. And they're not pulling for you. And the minute that you know they are not on your team, they're not bad people, the minute you'll stop trying to convince themselves or convince yourself through their ludicrous validation that what you're doing is good. Once you get that, everything in your business will become better overnight. So I hope this helps. Thank you for subscribing. Please like, please share, get it to people. I will give you the truest, most honest, most effective advice that you can get as it pertains to you picking money, your business, what you do, what you don't do. If you have any questions too, you can always drop them in or make a comment. My man Andrew will pull them up. We can go over them on some of the podcasts. I got no problem with it. We've got to give information to people. I had a kid knock on my door the other day. Boom, boom, boom. Sunday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I get out, I'm like, what you selling, bro? And I just wasn't in the mood, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't in the mood. Was not in the mood. What you selling? Nothing. I go, okay, you're selling nothing. I don't know you. You don't know me, right? Nope. Why are you knocking? He says, I got my life insurance license. I said, congratulations. Are you selling life insurance? He goes, no, I assume you have a bunch of it. I said, I have more policy you can imagine. Been in the life insurance business for 15 years. He said, I know. I said, who's in the car? He's like, my dad. Kid's 20. I go, can you get your dad, please? He waves over his dad. Dad comes over. I said, Dad, walk me through what's happening here, bro. I love y'all, but it's a Sunday. What y'all knocking on my door for? He's like, man, we don't live that far away. We saw some of your stuff on social media. I've seen your house. Like, I'm sorry. I just was driving by and told my son you live there. I parked the car, and then my son got out. He's the one. He's very courageous. He's got a big backbone. He's not afraid of things, yada, yada, yada. He knocked on your door. And I said, all right, what commission level are you at? You're in life insurance. He says, yes. I said, what commission level are you at? He said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? No. What do they pay you when you sell a policy? He says, I don't know. They don't tell me. I said, or you didn't ask. Then I look at his dad. I go, see, Dad, this is your fault. You got a great dad, right? Glad you got a great dad. Dad's traveling everywhere, doing everything. You better start asking, son, how do you not know what you're getting paid? And then, of course, I recruit him. Andrew, I wish you were here. It'd been good content, but I couldn't tape it. If I have Andrew here, he'd be taping. It was great. It'd been awesome. But and while I appreciated his courage and it's Sunday and thank God it wasn't like 10 o'clock at night where I'd be like, dude, somebody up to something to come into my door. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting there going, dude, how quickly we blame other people. Like, now you're the victim. Well, they didn't tell me. You didn't ask. Now, if you asked 9 times and they didn't tell you, did you quit? Because the minute you tell me, it's like that commercial. What kind of rates do you get? Well, what kind of salary? Is it competitive? Like, well, what do you mean? And then the guy gets another message and he's like, I got a job offer. What's the salary? He's like, competitive. Like, he's being like, he knows, like, how much are you going to pay me? What is my commission level? When I make a sale, what do I get paid? But I'm in the business. He can have that discussion with me. If he tells 10 of his friends that he's selling something, none of them going to ask him what he gets paid. They might just ask him how much he's made. They have an opinion. They don't even know what they're doing. So I'm like, dude, you need to quit. you need to come work with me. Here's why. So I recruit him. I said, how many people do you have at that company that you can bring over here? Because like, I don't know why they're all over there. Y'all are making no money. It's only an hour from here as the office. You need to come work with us. My point is that you need to get around more people in your business that you can talk to, that have business discussing your business. And you need to get the hell out of the habit of talking to people that have no business discussing your business because they know nothing about business. They're not in business and they don't want your business to do well. Their business is hoping your business doesn't do well. They're not your friend. They're not on your side, even if they're nice to you and hang out with you. So stop wasting your time talking to them. Protect your time. It'll be the most valuable asset in your business. Now we're truly done. Appreciate y'all. Thanks.